Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha, Nila Madhavrada, Nila Madhavrada, Jaya Radha, Jaya Radha, Giridhari Radha, Giridhari Radha, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Nitai, Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotara Shri Srimati Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Tai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Bhagavatam class. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 15, The Pandavas Retire Timely. We are doing text 16. Okay, guess we'll just chant. The purport is very long today. Almost 3 pages. Yeah. Yaddoshuma pranihitam guru bhishma karna Yaddoshuma pranihitam Guru Bhishma Karna Naptri Trigarta Shalya Shandava Balikadai Naptri Trigarta Shalya Shandava Balikadai Astrani Moga Mahimani Nirupitani Astranya Mahimani Nirupitani No Pasprishu Nirharidasham Ivasurani No Pasprishu Nirharidasam Ivasurani Anyone want to chant? Yaddoshuma pranihitam Guru Bhishma Karna
Naptrit Trigarta Shalya Saindava Balikadhyai Astranya Moga Mahimani Nirupitani
Moga Mahimani Nirupitani
Nopaspishur Nihari Dasam Eva Surani
No Pasprishu Niraharidasham Ivasurani Yadashama pranihitam Guru Bhishma Karna
Naptri Trigarta Shalya Saindava Balikadhyai
Naptrit Trigarta Shalya Sandava Balikadhyai
Astranya Moga Mahimani Nirupitani
Astranya Moga Mahimani Nirupitani
No Pasprishur Nriharidasam Ivasarani
No Pasprishu Niraridasham Ivasurani Yaddoshuma pranihitam Guru Bhishma Karna
Naptrir Trigarta Shalya Saindhava Balikadhyai
Naptritrikarta Shalyasandava Balikadhyai
Astranyamogha Mahimani Nirupitani
Astranya Mahimani Nirupitani
Nopasprisho Nriharidasam Ivasurani
No Pasprishu Nirharidasham Ivasurani Ladies. No takers? Okay. Yet, under whose? Those who protection of arms. Ma pranihitam, myself being situated. Guru Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, Naptri, Bhurishrava, Trigarta, King Susharma, Shalya, Saindava, King Jayadratha, Bhalika, brother of Maharaju Shantanu, Bhishma's father, Adhyai, etc. Astrani, weapons. Amoga, invincible. Mahimani, very powerful. nirupitani, applied, na, not, upasprishuhu, touched, nirharidasham, servitor of Narsingha Deva, Pralada, Iva, like, Asurani, weapons employed by the demons. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, please repeat with me. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Susarma, Shalya, Jayadratha and Bhalika all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasingha Deva, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. Purport. It's a long purport. I guess I'll read fast. The history of Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee of Narsingha Deva, is narrated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, a small child of only 5 years, became the object of envy for his great father, Hiranyakashipu. Only because of his becoming a pure devotee of the Lord, the demon father employed all his weapons to kill the devotee's son, Prahlada, but by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from all sorts of dangerous actions by his father. He was thrown in a fire, in boiling oil, from the top of a hill, underneath the legs of an elephant, and he was administered poison. At last, the father himself took up a chopper to kill his son, and thus Narsingha Deva appeared and killed the heinous father in the presence of the son. Thus no one can kill the devotee of the Lord. Similarly, Arjuna was also saved by the Lord, although all dangerous weapons were employed by his great opponents like Bhishma. Karna, born of Kunti by the sun god prior to her marriage with Maharaj Pandu. Karna took his birth with bangles and earrings, extraordinary signs for an undaunted hero. In the beginning his name was Vasusena, but when he grew up, he presented his natural bangles and earrings to Indradeva, and thenceforward he became known as Vaikartana. After his birth from the maiden Kunti, he was thrown in the Ganges. Later he was picked up by Adhiratha, and he and his wife Radha brought him up as their own offspring. Karna was very charitable, especially toward the Brahmanas. There was nothing he could not spare for a Brahmana. In the same charitable spirit, he gave in charity his natural bangles and earrings to Indradeva, who, being very much satisfied with him, gave him in return a great weapon called Shakti. He was admitted as one of the students of Dronacharya, and from the very beginning there was some rivalry between him and Arjuna. Seeing his constant rivalry with Arjuna, Duryodhana picked him up as his companion, and this gradually grew into greater intimacy. He was also present in the great assembly of Draupadi's Swayamvara function, and when he attempted to exhibit his talent in that meeting, Draupadi's brother declared that Karna could not take part in the competition because of his being the son of a Shudra carpenter. Although he was refused in the competition, still when Arjuna was successful in piercing the fish target on the ceiling and Draupadi bestowed her garland upon Arjuna, Karna and the other disappointed princes offered an unusual stumbling block to Arjuna while he was living with Draupadi. Specifically, Karna fought with him very valiantly, but all of them were defeated by Arjuna. Duryodhana was very much pleased with Karna because of his constant rivalry with Arjuna. And when he was in power, he enthroned Karna in the state of Anga. Being baffled in his attempt to win Draupadi, Karna advised Duryodhana to attack King Drupada. for after defeating him, both Arjuna and Draupadi could be arrested. But Dronacharya rebuked them for this conspiracy, and they refrained from the action. Karna was defeated many times, not only by Arjuna, but also by Bhimasena. He was the king of the kingdom of Bengal, Orissa and Madras combined. Later on, he took an active part in the Rajasuya sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and when there was gambling between the rival brothers designed by Shakuni, Karna took part in the game. And he was very pleased when Draupadi was offered as a bet in the gambling. This fat is all grudge. When Draupadi was in the game, he was very enthusiastic to declare the news, and it is he who ordered Dushasana to take away the garments of both the Pandavas and Draupadi. He asked Draupadi to select another husband because, being lost to the Pandavas, she was rendered a slave of the Kurus. He was always an enemy of the Pandavas, and whenever there was an opportunity, he tried to curb them by all means. During the battle of Kurukshetra, he foresaw the conclusive result, and he expressed his opinion that due to Lord Krishna's being the chariot driver of Arjuna, the battle should be won by Arjuna. He always differed with Bhishma, and sometimes he was proud even to say that within 5 days he could finish up the Pandavas, if Bhishma would not interfere with his plan of action. But he was much mortified when Bhishma died. He killed Gatotkacha with the Shakti weapon obtained from Indradeva. His son Vrishasena was killed by Arjuna. He killed the largest number of Pandava soldiers. At last there was a severe fight with Arjuna, and it was he only who was able to knock off the helmet of Arjuna. But it so happened that the wheel of his chariot stuck in the battlefield mud, and when he got down to set the wheel right, Arjuna took the opportunity and killed him, although he requested Arjuna not to do so. Napta or Burishrava. Burishrava was the son of Somadatta, a member of the Kuru family. His other brother was Salya. Both the brothers and the father attended the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi. All of them appreciated the wonderful strength of Arjuna due to his being the devotee friend of the Lord, and thus Burishrava advised the sons of Dhritarashtra not to pick any quarrel or fight with them. All of them also attended the Rajasuya Yagna of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He possessed 1 Akshauhini regiment of army, cavalry, elephants and chariots, and all of these were employed in the battle of Kurukshetra on behalf of Duryodhana's party. He was counted by Bhima as one of the Yuddhapatis. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he was especially engaged in a fight with Satyaki, and he killed 10 sons of Satyaki. Later on, Arjuna cut off his hands, and he was ultimately killed by Satyaki. After his death, he merged into the existence of Visvadeva. Trigarta of Susarma, son of Maharaj Vriddhakshetra. He was the king of Trigarta Desha, and he was also present in the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi. He was one of the allies of Duryodhana, and he advised Duryodhana to attack the Matsya Desha, Darbhanga. During the time of cow stealing in Virata Nagara, he was able to arrest Maharaj Virata. But later Maharaj Virata was released by Bhima. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he also fought very valiantly, but at the end he was killed by Arjuna. Jayadratha, another son of Maharaj Vriddhakshetra. He was the king of Sindhu Desha, modern Sindh, Pakistan. His wife's name was Dushala. He was also present in the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi, and he desired very strongly to have her hand, but he failed in a competition. But since then, he always sought the opportunity to get in touch with Draupadi. When he was going to marry in the Salya Desha, on the way to Kamyavana, he happened to see Draupadi again and was too much attracted to her. The Pandavas and Draupadi were then in exile after losing their empire in gambling, and Jayadratha thought it was wise to send news to Draupadi in an illicit manner through Kotishashya, one of his associates. Draupadi at once refused vehemently the proposal of Jayadratha. But being so much attracted by the beauty of Draupadi, he tried again and again. Every time he was refused by Draupadi, he tried to take her away forcefully on his chariot, and at first Draupadi gave him a good dashing, and he fell like a cut root tree. But he was not discouraged, and he was able to force Draupadi to sit on the chariot. This incident was seen by Daumya Muni, and he strongly protested the action of Jayadratha. He also followed the chariot, and through Tatrayika, the matter was brought to the notice of Maharaj Yudhishthira. The Pandavas then attacked the soldiers of Jayadratha and killed them all, and at last Bhima caught hold of Jayadratha and beat him very severely, almost dead. Then all but 5 hairs were cut off his head, and he was taken to all the kings and introduced as the slave of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was forced to admit himself to be the slave of Maharaj Yudhishthira. There before all the princely order, and in the same condition he was brought before Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira was kind enough to order him released, and when he admitted to being a tributary prince under Maharaj Yudhishthira, Queen Draupadi also desired his release. After this incident, he was allowed to return to his country. Being so insulted, he went to Gangatri in the Himalayas and undertook a severe type of penance to please Lord Shiva. He asked his benediction to defeat all the Pandavas, at least one at a time. Then the battle of Kurukshetra began, and he took sides with Duryodhana. In the first days of fight, he was engaged with Maharaj Drupada, then with Virata, and then with Abhimanyu. When Abhimanyu was being killed, mercilessly surrounded by 7 great generals, the Pandavas came to his help. But Jayadratha, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, repulsed them with great ability. At this, Arjuna took a vow to kill him, and on hearing this, Jayadratha wanted to leave the war field and asked permission from Kauravas for this cowardly action. But he was not allowed to do so. On the contrary, he was obliged to fight with Arjuna, and while the fight was going on, Lord Krishna reminded Arjuna that the benediction of Shiva upon Jayadratha was that whoever would cause his head to fall on the ground would die at once. He therefore advised Arjuna to throw the head of Jayadratha directly onto the lap of his father, who was engaged in penances at the Samanta Panchaka pilgrimage. This was actually done by Arjuna. Jayadratha's father was surprised to see his severed head on his lap, and he at once threw it to the ground. The father immediately died, his forehead being cracked in 7 pieces. Omakyanathumirandasya jananjana shalaka chakshuru sanmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Mukham Garati Vachalum Pangum Langete Girim Yat Kripatam Mande Shri Gurum Denataranam Paramananda Madan Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sodhito Gododaya Pushwanta Chitra Sandha Tamondado. Exciting events. This is all part of the Mahabharata episode. And again, Arjuna is recollecting, remembering. Although Prabhupada goes very deeply, or I can say it's not deep enough because there's so much information in the Mahabharata. Still, this is a lot of information. Prabhupada's summary is amazing. And ultimately, like I said the other day, Arjuna is remembering Krishna, deep remembrance. And in the same way, we may read the Mahabharata, we may read the Ramayana, we may read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ultimately, we should remember Krishna. Smartavya sadatam Vishnu Vishmartavya najatu. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So when you go to bed, make sure you remember Krishna before you shut eyes. And when you get up, try to remember Krishna. This is very important. Otherwise, all this Srimad Bhagavatam, everything is irrelevant. It becomes irrelevant. It becomes useless. Shama eva hi kevalam. We are thinking of what to do tomorrow. What would my boss say? What will I buy, a 4D ticket or lotto? Or will I become wealthy? If our consciousness is like that, then we will never be able to connect with Krishna or his devotees. Of course, all this information is freely available in the many editions of the Mahabharata, but you have to be careful, the versions that you read. Unless you are very familiar with Srila Prabhupada's books, you may get confused, or you may misunderstand. The Mahabharata is one of the world's greatest epics. It not only chronicles the war and the dynastic struggles, it's also a very profound exploration of the human psychology also. You can see how the human psychology works, how the human morality and the consequence of one's choices or action. Right? We can see that. Particularly here, if you look at the last personality, who is that? Jayadratha. So you can see the Pandavas are in exile in the forest, but Jayadratha, he's actually on his way to get married. He's going to get married to Salya's daughter, and he's going, and on his way he sees Draupadi alone picking flowers in the garden, and so he decides there and then. Why? Because he's driven by lust, arrogance, desire. And so he's thinking, I lost her in that her Swayamvara when King Drupada had. Now it's an opportune moment, as Prabhupada explains, because the Pandavas lost their kingdom and everything, so they are nothing now. So if I entice her, definitely she would want with someone who has lots of wealth, money, and so on, which may be quite prevalent nowadays. Maybe the people with less culture or people into sense gratification, they may want proper protection. The ladies want a good house, some wealth, and they want to be happy like that. And so he's thinking, well, she's alone now. Her husbands are useless, so therefore he approaches and tries to get her to come with him. Of course, she's from a very high-class family, Kshatriya, raised properly, taught the morals, ethics, and so on. And so she refuses, but he tries to abduct her, and Prabhupada says she gives him a good bashing. So I think all the ladies should learn how to fight also, in case you will have an opportune to give someone a good bashing, bang, punch them, huh? or pepper spray, right? Carry with you. So anyway, she punches him. He's astonished that he fell backwards. It's in the Mahabharata, and then he gets up, and somehow or other he abducts her and he forces her on the chariot. Now, actually, this is very low-class action if you think about it. If a woman refuses, you don't do that, Even in modern so-called society, right? If you approach some girl and ask her, come out, and she says, get the hell out of my face, and you better get the hell out of your face, right? But there is respect and so on. Although in this Kali Yuga you find people doing all kinds of nonsense, and they're pretty much low class in other ways, but at least they respect in some form or fashion. When a woman refuses, most men will accept that. So you have rules, and there is also a law, right? No means no, right? Something like that. Yeah. If she refuses and she says no, then one has to accept. So a gentleman means he never forces. So he takes her on the chariot, and with his big army, Akshahuni, he takes and he's going to go home, I guess, to marry her. As they were going, Daumya, the rishi, then he indicates to the Pandavas what had happened. The Pandavas then pursue, and actually all 5 of them were chasing. And as they approached him, Arjuna and Bhima told, what happens is they had a big fight, and so Jayadratha also fights with his army. And the Pandavas were so skillful, they killed all the soldiers. And lo and behold, Jayadratha is all alone. So he looks here, he looks right, left, all around, and then he lets Draupadi get down the chariot, and he goes alone on the chariot. And then at that time, Bhima and Arjuna tell the other brothers, you take Draupadi back, and we will go ahead and capture Jayadratha. So the incident happens when the 5 Pandavas, they went for hunting, and they left Draupadi all alone, So I guess Domya and others were there, and so they didn't think there would be such a incident that someone would come and kidnap her or do that. So anyway, this is we have to think about this kind of things nowadays. If you who says, Chanaka Pandit says, if you have a very beautiful wife, it's a burden actually. Right? He says that. He uses different word, but I'm saying it's a burden. So every time you go out, all the men's eye are on the wives, right? And then you're thinking how to protect. And then you have to make her wear a whole mask, or wear like the Habib, right? The Muslim ladies, and then walk around. So you can see what happens when men are not trained properly in the culture, and therefore they go after anything or anyone they deem to be able to win over or get what they want. And so this is the situation. So when Arjuna and Bhima caught up to Jayadratha, Bhima was very fast. He ran after him and caught him, and he was about to kill him. And just as he raised his hand to punch, Arjuna said, no, please don't kill him. Incidentally, when they were chasing, Yudhishthira also told them, please bring him alive, don't kill him. But Bhima wanted to kill him. Now there's a rule in the Kshatriya, in the Dharma Shastra, that if one steals another's wife, you are susceptible to be killed. So therefore, if Bhima has killed him, there's nothing wrong. Okay, but anyway, then he got so angry, Bhima, oh yeah, such a great brother of ours, who's too soft-hearted, and he pummels Jayadratha so badly. The guy really bowls over. And then he's so angry, Bhima then takes his arrow, and with the blades of the arrows, he shaves him off, and then leaves 5 strands of hair. If you remember, maybe later on in the Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, even the brother of Rukmini, Krishna shaves him up also, and then Balaram comes and chastises Krishna. How could you do that? He's your brother-in-law. So in the same way, when they shaved him up, Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Bhima, and so when they did that, for a Kshatriya, what is worse than death? No, defamation or dishonor. Yeah, so therefore, he rather die than to be done like that. So they have a code. If a Kshatriya captures another who's cowardly, they'll shave him up and they send him away. So everyone can see this guy was a coward. Yeah. So what is the motivation of most Kshatriya? They want honor and prestige for being righteous. But here, Jayadratha was not a righteous person. So therefore, although he feels that he needs it, he wants honor and prestige. It's not that they want any kind of fame, mostly these warriors and Kshatriyas, but they want to be a righteous person. So as devotees also, we must be practicing righteousness, how we deal with people also. They can see us, how we behave, even among ourselves, how we treat one another and so on. So anyway, he's defamed because he has that strange haircut. Sometimes we see in the modern day, many people have very strange haircut. Huh? You see, right? Nowadays, all kinds of haircuts. So maybe they are defamed or they are thinking it's fashionable. Right? I've seen that. People with the tufts of hair sticking out of their head also. And they think it's cool, you know. Maybe they are feeling cool because there's no hair in the head, but it's not so cool, yeah. And yeah, so anyway, his haircut is in a funny way, and everyone is kind of laughing. So the episode is not merely a tale of physical defeat for Jayadratha, but again, it affects him psychologically also. And not only that, it's a social humiliation. So all these are affecting him. And generally, you can see nowadays people are easily humiliated also. In those days, it was like maybe 1 in a million. Jayadratha was one of those kind of personality who gets easily humiliated. So originally Arjuna also was angry when this personality stole their wives. But when he saw him being humiliated by Bhishma, his heart changed, you know. It turned more to restraint and adherence to the principles of dharma. That means what is righteous. And although Bhima was ready to kill him, Arjuna acts as a balance. He said, no, remember our brother told you not to do that. Yeah? So you can see here in this whole scene that Arjuna is, someone may say Arjuna is showing weakness, you know. Yeah, Jai Shri Shri Radha Nilamada, Jai Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Giri Govardhan Ki, Jai Shri Shinta Chidanita Gaurachan, ISKCON Guru Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yeah, so someone may say Arjuna is showing weakness, you know, but actually it's not weakness, it's a sense of responsibility and the understanding of how in the Vedic culture, how ethical framework is set up. And so he appreciates that, and he is also showing the standard of actions the Pandavas are acting on. What is their standards as opposed to Jayadratha's standard. So you can see already it's very distinctive between their two qualities. Although they are both Kshatriyas, and you can see so difficult. One personality is so low class, the other personalities are so high class. So similarly, we should be also seeing how our actions will belie our true nature as either a devotee or even a moralist or an ordinary person. We should be careful. Because whatever we do, we are actually reflecting Srila Prabhupada and the ISKCON movement. But because he didn't want to kill Jayadratha for the offense, later on this compassion takes another turn. Jayadratha comes back with a twisted mind, you know. So you can see the sense of duty and dharma in Arjuna's action, and his willingness to control his anger so that his brother Yudhishthira can pass judgment and so on. But Bhima didn't care. He really beat him up, and then after that he told him, you really want to live, you better accept that you are our slave. And so Jayadratha says, yes, I'm your slave. You're a slave of my brother. You have to declare. And so they took him to all the kings around there, the princess, and he said, yes, I'm a slave of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then after that, they took him to King Yudhishthira, and Yudhishthira felt sorry for him. And the reason is, he's their brother-in-law also. Because the cousin brother, our sister actually, she married Jayadratha, Dushala, one of the sisters of the Kauravas. And therefore, when they were chasing Jayadratha, Draupadi said, kill the damn idiot, kill him, But when they brought him back, shaved up and all, she saw and immediately she felt sorry for him and say, yes, please release him, He had suffered enough. So, so one of the things we learn is sometimes a punishment is meant for, You all need to speak in the microphone, and not talk.
Reformation.
Reformation, what else? Deterrent also, right? When you punish someone, two things should happen. One is you make them deter from doing the same thing, and the other thing is they understand I did wrong, and so therefore they reform. And particularly for Kshatriyas, this is because they want to reduce bloodshed. Otherwise, unnecessarily you will kill people and so on. So this preserves a possibility for future alliances also among the Kshatriyas, Sometimes, okay, I'll let you go off, so next time you see me, you will help me out when I need, a tit, something like scratch your back, you scratch my back, something like that, So, but we see in the case of Jayadratha, this was not the case. There was no reformation. Rather, he became angry and he wanted to take revenge. From his point of view, it was a personal and a political catastrophe. Things went wrong. Everybody saw him being humiliated. Everyone saw him that he was weak. So he's nobody. There's no strength. And then they shaved him up. And then the enemy showed mercy, so he wasn't happy with that, and he was powerless. And so all this made him feel, instead of thinking, I was wrong for my actions, he never even contemplated that. Rather, he was thinking, no, they were wrong to shave me up and make me do what they did. So you can see the mentality he had, and therefore for him, humiliation was worse than death itself, So sometimes it's better to die than to suffer some humiliation. And he was thinking, and he came to the conclusion that actually he didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. How dare they do this? How dare they punish me? How dare they humiliate me? So therefore, for people who think like that, we should understand in our dealings with people how they react in the due course of time, and then we should avoid trying to get too deep or close with them, because whatever we say may not be accepted as good for them. Even, I know, I've experienced, I would encourage someone and they will go and tell another person, why is he talking to me like that? Is he trying to be, trying to get something out of me or something like that? So I would wonder how amazing the psychology is, although they have interacted with you for so long, yet they cannot see what your true or natural intent is. So we also should be very aware of how we deal with people. And you can see, even though the Pandavas were so righteous, right, and still they were treated in very, very unkind and miserable ways by their opponents or enemies. So what we can say is Jayadratha was psychologically shattered, right? He is unable to return to his kingdom because of his shame. He is disfigured. And so what he does, he retreats into the forest and he decides to perform a penance to Lord Shiva. So although the humiliation is not just external, it actually penetrated to the core of his existence, his identity as a king and a warrior, right? Kshatriya, sometimes you may have a certain nature, but you have to quell it down and balance it with how you can relate with others also. You cannot think, sometimes we may be absolutely right, but it's better to take a humble position, right? So we have to think like that. Now, in the beginning, when Bhima beat him up, he was repentant. He was ashamed of what he did. But it quickly transformed because of his burning desire to prove he is a great warrior. He's comparing himself to the Pandavas. I'm better than them, How dare they treat me like that? So it totally changed his psychology. And so he didn't like that, and so he did this penance to ask Lord Shiva for a boon to defeat the Pandavas. That was his ultimate understanding, you know. Like in our own case, in our own Krishna consciousness, if we find someone is correcting us or heavy with us a little bit, a devotee should reflect and say, this is Krishna's desire, or Krishna is speaking through them. Or we have to contemplate or speak to senior Vaishnavas and say, how to take this difficulty that I'm going through, rather than thinking everyone is an imbecile. You know, I'm the only one who's the pure devotee, you know, like that, you know. So no, we shouldn't think like that, yeah. So this, therefore he takes up austerity, tapasya. Now, generally when we do tapasya, we do it for what purpose? Purification for what purpose? Spiritual activities. But you can see here, Jayadratha's whole mood, his tapasya was not for spiritual purification, but rather for material position. So therefore he approaches Lord Shiva to get the boon, and of course Lord Shiva is very pleased with him, and he gives him a boon. And what does he ask for? Kill devotees. I want to kill devotees. Just like Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill Prahlad Maharaj. As Prabhupada explains, this is ridiculous. You know, we don't do that. Kill devotees. Doesn't make sense. So Shiva is thinking, what's wrong with this guy? So he says, no, you can only, defeat them. You can't kill them. And you can only defeat the 4 Pandavas. You cannot touch Arjuna. Arjuna, you cannot touch him. He's beyond your level. And in general, if you read the Mahabharata and even in the Bhagavatam, you find Arjuna is not like us, not ordinary. He is Nara, Narayana. He's an incarnation, he's an empowered personality. He is always with Krishna. So he grants him the power to check the Pandavas for only one day and one time, that's it. So you can think about it. Although he did so much austerity and he asked for a boon, Lord Shiva was very smart. He did not give him a boon that is forever. He just gave him for one purpose, one time only. Sometimes you get one time use only. You go to some of this, or you have to redeem this ticket in 6 months or 3 months or 1 week, and then you lose it. So in the same way, he had to only use it one time. Navyalikam varam dade. It says in the Bhagavatam, boons that are given, but they have loopholes. So Lord Shiva in generally gives boon to the demons with loopholes. So they cannot. So you can see even the Asura, Vrikashura, he wanted the boon and then he also got killed. So all of them you can see, there's always something. Lord Shiva will not give a complete, but if you pray to Lord Shiva to become a devotee, yes, he blesses you very nicely. So having achieved the boon, you can say psychologically he feels there's a sense of redemption and purpose. Jayadratha is feeling, I'm complete now. Right? At first he's feeling incomplete. As a Kshatriya, now he's thinking, I'm complete. I'm complete. And what he didn't understand is when Lord Shiva told him, you're not equal to the Pandavas, they are on a superior level, he couldn't understand that. He's thinking, if I work hard, I'll be better than them. He didn't understand they are especially blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He couldn't understand that. He could not understand that whenever Krishna protects someone, no one can touch them or kill them. Rake Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rake Ke. When Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can protect him. When Krishna wants to protect someone, no one can kill him. And this particular pastime is evident of that. Arjuna wanted to kill Jayadratha. And Krishna blew the conch when he made that announcement. After Jayadratha, later on he gets this ability to fight in the Kurukshetra battle. And it was on the 13th day, I believe, that Abhimanyu breaks through the Chaturvyuha, the formation by Dronacharya. But But the other Pandavas were coming behind Abhimanyu, but at that time Jayadratha uses this power to close the circle. And then when he closes that, they try to fight him, but because of the boon from Lord Shiva, he repelled all the Pandavas. They cannot come, except for Arjuna. But what they did was, the Kauravas got this group of people to fight Arjuna so much that he could not come to the circle. And in the meantime, the Kauravas cheated in the warfare with Abhimanyu because he was so powerful and so strong. And in the end, Karna approaches Dronacharya and says, how can we get this boy? Although it is said he was only like 16 or 17 years old when he was fighting. How to get this boy? He can't be defeated, so difficult. Because he repelled all of them. Even Drona was saying, he's so wonderful, he's so amazing, he's trained so nicely by his father Arjuna and Krishna. So then Karna says, stop praising him, we want to know how to kill him. So then he says, the way you do it is you break his bow, you break his chariot, you break his horses, and so on. Then when he is on the ground, it's easier to tackle him. And so Abhimanyu fights with 6 Maharathis. And it's unfair. You don't do like that. Generally 1-to-1 they face, not 6 in 1. So that unfair thing later on causes Arjuna to die. And when he died, Abhimanyu to die, and when he is isolated and killed, Arjuna loses it. He gets emotional, and it's normal. Father seeing the son die, and he gets emotional, and then he declares. And when he declares that he wants to kill Jayadratha, the next day, Krishna blows the conch. Then after that, the day ends on that day. Then Krishna goes to Arjuna and says, why did you even make such a silly vow without even talking to me first? So what it means is when we make vows and so on, we shouldn't just anyhow, in a passionate mood make vow. We should contemplate, we should speak to devotees carefully and say, I want to make this vow for Kartik. Do you think this is worth it? Do you think this will help me become a better devotee? And like that. And then with their blessing, then you continue and you will be successful. So, but of course, Krishna is associate of, Arjuna is an associate of Krishna. So Krishna says, don't worry, I will help you. So anyway, the next day they try to fight to break, to come to, no, actually as Prabhupada says, Jayadratha wanted to run away. What a coward, right? When he heard Arjuna want to kill him the next day, he went and said, okay, I'm finished with the war. I'm going. And Drona and others say, no, don't worry, we will protect you. And then after coaxing him, Duryodhana, everyone said, don't worry, we will not let Arjuna come close to you. And so they protected him very nicely for the whole day. And so much so, towards the end of the day, the sun was about to set. And then Arjuna looked at Krishna, and Krishna smiles, and he sends his chakra, Sudarshan chakra. So the chakra goes and covers the sun. And then everyone thinks, the sun has set. So then Jayadratha does the dance and twirls and does break dancing and all. And then he stands up and says, hey, Arjuna, can't kill. So then when he sent the chakra, Krishna told Arjuna, get ready with the arrow. And as soon as all the warriors let down their weapons, you just cut his head off. And remember, make sure that the head flies to his father, who's in that forest a little bit, couple of miles away. But make sure this cruise missile goes all to the father. And so he does that. He releases the arrow. Arjuna chants a mantra. He cuts the head of Jayadratha and carries the head and drops it on the lap of his father who's meditating. There is a boon that is given to Jayadratha, that whoever drops his head, and if it touches the ground, that person's head would also splinter into 100 pieces. Here Prabhupada says 7 pieces. And so his father looks at the head, it's all bloodied. He says, ew, and then he throws it on the ground and he dies. And these people are all very envious people, naturally asuric in quality, and therefore killing them is acceptable by Arjuna and Krishna. So we can see how, although Arjuna had more a good opportunity to kill Jayadratha with Bhima, he didn't, because he realized that righteousness is what they upheld. Kshatriya means we upheld some rules and regulation. But whereas Jayadratha didn't, For Arjuna it was both a personal and moral victory. From the point of Jayadratha, it is tragic endpoint of a path defined by wounded pride and a quest for redemption. So it's totally opposite from one another, and so we should be willing to understand these things can also affect us, and the lesson we can learn is the importance of, what are some lessons we can learn? Importance of
taking corrections as reformation.
Good.
And,
especially if the person giving the correction is a superior person. That means we need to identify this person is superior to me, which is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants us to do, is to be always humble. Yeah, so we take that. Instead of repenting, he decided to take revenge. So we should never want to take revenge. Yeah, we should not think like that. Rather, we should learn how to forgive and forget. It's very important for a devotee actually. We will struggle with anger. All of us will struggle with grief. We will struggle with how to do our duty and so on. But at all times we should be disciplined, which means we should be able to control our senses. So which is why we follow the 4 regulatory principles, so that we are able to control our mind and senses. Now, of course, some people will read this pastime and say, they should have killed Jayadratha, then Abhimanyu would have been alive. But that's not the way it is. Krishna has his plans. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai, Shri Shri Nitai Chaitanya Nitai Gaura Chanda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, ISKCON Guruvinda Ki Jai. We should also practice humility, and we should also, as Patita was saying, willing to learn from our mistakes, willing to learn from others who are pointing out. One time Satsvarup Maharaj was chanting and he was falling asleep. And then one bhakta came and said, Maharaj, get up, chant properly, don't do this. He was shouting at Maharaj. And then Maharaj then writes in his book, I took it that Krishna was speaking through him. And it was good that it was good for him to tell me, because I was falling asleep. Yeah. So I thought that was very humble of Maharaj to see it that way. Instead of saying, who are you to tell me that, Yeah. Of course, we can speak so much on all these different personalities in these few persons, right? Even Karna, he's like, oh my God, his birth is exceptional. Unfortunately, Kunti was a little girl, maybe 12 or 13 years old, and Kunti is also a celestial personality. She has a lineage. She's come from Nagas also, and she is also an empowered person by Krishna. She is like a personification of perfection. Whatever she does is perfect. And so when she served Durvasa Muni so perfectly, he was overwhelmed. He gave her a boon to call on any demigods who will give her a child. So being a 12, 13-year-old, she's like curious. I don't think so. Yes, no. So she chanted the mantra and she called on the sun god. Lo and behold, he appeared, and then she said, no, I just made a mistake, you can go back. And he said, oh no, I'm bound by the mantra, I have to give you a child. And she said, but I'm just a little girl. He said, don't worry, I'll bless you that you will remain chaste and you will not lose your virginity. And so anyway, she conceived, and the child was born, and the child came out of her ears. So the Karna came out of the ears, and therefore he's known as Karna. Karna means ears, right? So that's how he took birth. And he was born with armor, celestial armor, and earrings and jewels. Oh my God, which baby do you see like that? Most babies come with stool and pus and all kinds of things, So this is exceptional, He is not an ordinary person. But what was Karna's problem? Although he had all this, he had a very sad life actually. His whole life was a tragedy from beginning to the end. Whatever he touched turned bad. He killed some animal, but he found out he actually killed a Brahmin boy, and he got cursed. And then he served his guru. Who was that? Parshuram, thank you. Yeah, he served Parshuram, but he told Parshuram he was a Brahmin, so he lied to Parshuram, and then he was found out because of a devil bug that went through his thigh, and the blood was bleeding as he was letting his guru sleep on his lap. Parshuram said, "No one can withstand this except Kshatriya." So he cursed him, and the curse was, when you most need your mantras for fighting, at that time you will forget. And so when he was fighting Arjuna and he was trying to lift the wheels, he was thinking of how to call the mantras, but he could not remember. So he was defeated. And he knew his time was up at that time. He remembered. And not only that, we find that all throughout his life, he was always envious of people superior to him. Because he naturally knew he was better than a Shudra. Although he was born of royalty, he was raised by a low-class family, Shudra family. And so he always felt in his own behavior, and so he knew he was superior. And so when he saw others who are better than him or who had better qualities, he always would compare, I'm better. Actually, I'm better. So he never could accept, this is my karma, I have to go through. But as devotees, when we are going through our lives, we go through all kinds of challenges, but we should always reflect and say, there is a lesson here for me. That is why I'm going through this. Not so much as I know better, I know who are the idiots, who are the fools, I am superior. If you think like that, then you are gone, you're finished. You can forget about going back to Godhead. You can keep coming back again and again and again, back again. You can put a sticker on your car and say, back again and again and again. Come back. So he was envious of people who are better than him, and all throughout his life he was against devotees, particularly Arjuna. He had some kind of enmity towards Arjuna because actually it is said that he was far more superior in archery than Arjuna, but he would always fail, and he realized it actually. Right? He tells Bhishma, or he tells Drona, or he tells he tells Duryodhana that you will lose this battle because as long as Krishna is there, I can never beat Arjuna. So he realized that, and we can give him that credit for that. But apart from that, he had excellent qualities as a Kshatriya. He always wanted to help people, particularly Brahmanas. He was very charitable. No one in the world is as charitable as Karna. And when he died, even the planet Bhumi came to cry for him. So such a personality. These are excellent personalities. But the whole Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata is for us, fools like us, to appreciate the qualities of such great personalities who are teaching us lessons that we can take. We can take the lessons and practice. We cannot emulate or imitate them, but we can actually understand what is important in our life, and we have to take the lessons. Every time we read Prabhupada's book, we have to see what is the lesson for me. How can I become a better devotee that Krishna will see me instead of I will be seen by Krishna. I want Krishna to see me. You don't demand Krishna to see you, right? We should act in such a way that Krishna observes us. That's what Prabhupada said. So that is a lesson for us, because Karna wanted everyone to see him as who he is, but actually he didn't deserve it because of his animosity and terrible life style that he was doing. Okay, I'll stop here. Any reflections, any comments, please, and anything you want to add, feel free to do so, corrections, etc.
I had a question in relation to the circumstance of the karna, that we hear in the scripture and from the previous acharyas that really it's not about the birth but more about the qualities one has. But it seems like even when Krishna was present and in the association of his eternal associates, birth was also given a major importance. Like Karna wasn't allowed to participate in the Swayamvarna because he wasn't raised in a Kshatriya family, yet he had all the qualities of a great Kshatriya. Yes. So I'm just wondering, even if we were to establish Varnashram, it seems like this would have a huge presence even in the association of great devotees, that birth is still taken into a great consideration.
Yeah, that's a nice question, good question. What you can understand also is this material world is actually against all of us, Even though you can practice Varnashram, some of them will adjust the Varnashram standards according to what they want, which is what happened in this situation. Because Karna has Kshatriya qualities, right? Guna karma vibhavagasa. So we have to see that, but they didn't see it. It was an excuse not to allow him, because Draupadi did not want to marry him. She didn't want him. So therefore, when he went to the Swayamvara, Dhristadyumna was told to tell he is not allowed because he is from a Shudra family. Instead of seeing what his quality was, they used that as an excuse to stop him from participating. So in general, they did practice Varnashram strictly, but in these pastimes of Mahabharata and so on, you can see how it can be misused for the wrong reasons and so on. One wonders if he had been allowed to practice and if he had been the one to shoot the arrow to the eye of the fish, would the Mahabharata been different? Maybe yes, maybe no, like the farmer. So we do not know like that. But essentially, if you read the whole Mahabharata, you see Yudhishthira Maharaj practices Varnashram very nicely, and he metes out judgment and he treats people according to where they are, according to their position and so on. And that's one of the reasons why he also told Arjuna and Bhima not to kill Jayadratha, because that's not the way to treat someone who has made a mistake. Oftentimes when someone makes a mistake, we will hang them eternally, but actually we should hang people like, give them an opportunity once or twice, or give them the rope and let them hang themselves. Yes, Prabhu.
So Prabhuji, you mentioned Karna was popularly, he's known to be born with armor and earrings, kavacha kundal, but in the purport, Prabhupada writes as bangles, so I don't know where the bangles came from.
I think he had many jewelry.
Okay.
And also you have to understand, the Mahabharata is not only of this pastime, there could be, Kambrahman, other personalities, they can see different in Puranas, there are different descriptions, could be from a different yuga also. So it is a possibility, I'm just speculating.
Sure. Also it is said during the Swayamvar he was not allowed to participate because, he was from the carpenter caste, like Suta Putra, but it is known generally that Adhiratha, his foster father, was a charioteer.
Yes.
So I don't know if he built the same chariots and then he drove them, but who
knows?
So popularly he was a charioteer.
Srila Prabhupada says Sudra, but I also was thinking he's half Kshatriya, or not complete, because he's Adhiratha,
Right.
But anyway, it didn't make, we just accept what Prabhupada says.
Now coming to the verse, so in the translation, they use, the word is used similarly, so it's saying that I escaped unscathed in the battle, and Prahlad also escaped unscathed, but I think it should say similar to, so because Eva means just like, so Arjuna is comparing himself to Prahlad, saying just like Prahlad escaped unscathed, I also escaped unscathed, thanks to the mercy of the Lord. But here it says similarly, I think it should say similar to,
I don't know, similarly,
Yeah, I mean, he's equating himself to
Yeah,
Prahlad.
I guess you have to take it up with the BBT editors. Yeah, I'm not the BBT editor.
Yes,
so.
maybe I should email them. So the question, so it could be a bit, it could be hard to understand
Yes.
when we take examples of Arjuna and Prahlad, because they were at the exalted status and they conquered death, they conquered injury, nothing happened to them.